Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Children of the Cup. We apologize for the interruption. Excuse me, had a bit of weirdness there on the computer, and things went black, but we've got everything fixed for now. We hope. So, coming back into things, with the rolls that you guys made, Serafino, you notice that there is that continued dust cloud, or you finally see the dust cloud, I should say, headed towards Taviv. And you guys presumably keep heading on into Jaffa as you finally make it to the gates and are let in to the large port city. And it is a lot quieter than you're used to at this point when it comes to entering a city. There are people out on the streets, but it's a much thinner crowd. The buildings feel a bit more like they're compacted in. And this feels more like, and looks more like, just a fortress city that happens to have a large harbor. So, as you're coming through the main gatehouse, you watch as the guards simply let you pass, and your travel is immediately impeded by an individual in a large cloak, who kind of takes a quick glance over the four of you. And watches as Canis moves in between your horses before giving a nod to all of you and motioning their head to follow them.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, follow.
Mm-hmm.
You follow this individual through streets and alleys as you begin to make your way closer and closer to the harbor until finally you come into view of one of the larger churches in town. It's the Church of St. Peter. And just before you actually enter into the church's area, he cuts off and makes his way for an inn nearby and stands at the doorway of the inn, where you can already see that there are about 8 horses that have been lined up at the nearby post and have been strapped to it.
I will line up my horse as well and strap it to it.
Do the same. Strap the horse, go to the door.
Persephone kind of gets off of her horse and goes, "All right, well, that was quite the adventure. So, let's head in, shall we?"
Let's go.
Let's do it.
She leads the way through the double doors, entering into an inn. This inn is called the Gypsy's Tale. And it has a gypsy on the wooden placard who's sort of acting almost like a belly dancer. And there is a long foxtail that's coming out from the backside of her dress.
It was actually spelled like that, yeah.
And as you head in, there are a few patrons around, but the cloaked individual who's kind of leading you on this, in your way through the city streets and all that, makes his way inside behind all of you and takes the lead as he leads you past the open kitchen plan and to what looks like a door that should lead to a pantry. And as he opens it, there's a set of stairs that head down into a basement. And he kind of just motions for the 4 of you to step inside. Well, I should say the 5 of you, as Canis moves past all your legs and immediately heads down the stairs.
Yeah, I follow.
Continue to follow.
And I open up my mask now.
Fantastic. As all of you make your way down the stairs, you are brought to a large, spacious room, roughly about the size of the one on the main floor. Hardwood. Everything looks like it's been recently polished, and the upkeep is really nice. It's quite well lit with both a what looks like an antler chandelier that sits in the center of the room. There are 6 circular tables that sit around in a semicircle, and 1 large table that sits in front of 3 chairs of varying sizes, one looking almost like a throne. And there are about 12 individuals down here. Some of them you recognize, some of them you don't. But to give you perspective, as you first come down the stairs, the first table that you see has... Let me see here. The first table has Alexis. It has Aisha. Next to Aisha is Elch. The next table over has 3 individuals you don't recognize. And then the other table that has individuals occupying it has... Let me see. I'm trying to see if you met everybody here besides them. Hakan is there. And it looks like he's exiting the room, actually. So he kind of stands from his table and makes his way out the door, which is kind of weird because Hakan is actually the Muslim sheriff. And you see the individual you only got a glimpse of in the Temple of the Holy Sepulchre, and that's Father Polero Rustusi. And besides that, the long table that sits on the other side of the room is adorned with Boniface in the second to largest chair and Magdalena in the largest chair, and a individual in a monk's habit that you don't recognize.
So Hakan was there and is on his way out.
Hakan looked like he was talking to someone, and he's on his way towards the stairs as you guys make your way down.
All right.
He kind of gives you guys, "Hey, good to see you."
Good to see you too.
Good to see you.
She says defensively.
Yeah,
And
I'll
he-
also throw a glance at Cecilia and Serafina, like...
Pushes his way
obvi-
past all of you, and as he does, he gives a few back rubs to Canis before he finally makes his way upstairs, and you can hear the door close behind you, and there's a loud sound of locks on the door upstairs.
Do we see any other one from the Muslim faction inside? At all?
No.
Alright. Well, then she will try to find somewhere to sit.
Okay. There are 3 empty tables on the other side of the semicircle.
Mm.
Where does Persephone go?
Persephone just immediately heads over to the first available one and sits down.
Yeah, I think I just follow her then.
Yeah, just before you guys follow her, I'm gonna whisper to you that I saw that cloud. Don't know if you noticed it, but there was a huge cloud of dust, as if from several riders going to Tel Aviv. I'm guessing they were chasing Bug Truck.
It seemed to have worked.
Mm-hmm. Now, shall we go to the table where Persephone is?
We should.
Not the best idea.
Okay. 3 of you sit down, and there's a bit of a clearing of the throat from Boniface as you all finish sitting down, and as he clears his throat, you hear the sound of a creaking wooden door, and from behind Magdalena's chair, you can see that the wall opens up, and there's a doorway there that you didn't notice beforehand that opens, and a number of individuals in chains come out and stand in a row behind them. Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, appearance 5 and up females, only covered with loincloths, who are in heavy chains, and you watch as a brutish individual in heavy armor, much like Ajala. He's wearing a full set of chainmail. He's not just wearing a hauberk, with a two-handed axe at his belt. Kind of goes down the row of them, and as he does, he makes a small cut on each of their wrists and fills a not too much, but a little bit of an ale stein each time he goes by one, until eventually he has one stein from each of them, and he walks over to each table and begins putting down the steins in front of everyone available until finally he reaches the four of you, and he places them down in front of you, and then he takes his leave, and you watch as they also walk out through that doorway before it is closed.
Once more, Cecilia sees a lot of people that are a lot prettier than her. She looks a little jealous.
Oh, quite the opposite.
Finally, Boniface kind of clears his throat. Well, we've all gathered, so those of us who have made it to this meeting, I can see we are missing quite a few still, who either have chosen not to join us or simply you didn't have the time. We have a very tough decision to make as we essentially decide who to ally with in the coming storm. Please, if you will, refreshments are on the house, and you may drink your fill. And, well, I'll hand over the floor to Magdalena. And Magdalena kind of nods her head. So, we're going to keep this simple, we're going to keep this short. If anyone would like to make an argument for a particular leader, they may do so. Otherwise, we will simply go ahead and go straight to the voting process as per usual for our newest guests, and she points over to your table. And for anyone who needs a quick refresher, once we start the voting process, you will all be sequestered into by individual table. You will be given a box, you will be given parchment, you will write down who you wish, put it in the box, then the votes will be tallied afterwards. Would anyone like to make the case for a particular leader? She kind of leaves the floor open. Do any of you wish to try to approach the floor?
Not first,
Nope.
at least.
I have stage fright.
Well, as you notice, no one's initially getting up. You watch as one of the individuals that you didn't recognize in the table next to you kind of stands up. He's in composite armor like the two of you. And he has on, a simple nasal helm that's intricately decorated, and he has a ornate longsword that hangs from his hip. And he kind of stands up and gives everyone a bow before making his way to the center of the room. And you notice that he is wearing a turban, but very loosely. And he says, "Good evening, one and all. For those of you who do not know me, I am Zavikil Al-Amin, and I am here on behalf of Her Lady Kawia El Gaduba. Our message is simple. The Levant needs to be united underneath a power that can actually defend itself from the Caliph. And while there may be several candidates that you would oogle and ogle over as to be the one to take over the Levant, and you think that they could provide stability, like Lucius, they will never be as powerful as Kawia is with her legion. The Salubri are here. We have proven ourselves time and time again. We are the right choice." And he moves away from the center and sits back down. A few moments later, you watch as another individual gets up from the same table. This one, he looks Muslim, actually. But he looks like mixed Muslim. and you're not exactly sure where he might be from. Go ahead and give me... Let's see here. This is gonna... Oh, the character sheet closed because I had to restart Roll20. We'll open up this one. That'll do. Give me... Intelligence politics rolls.
All right.
Nope. Jolly
Serafino.
gets a headache from all of this.
And I have a specialty.
All right, so Serafino and Cecilia, you're not sure who this individual is, but looking at them, they're old. They look like they're of a mix between Roman and Kurdish descent. And the Romans haven't been around for a long time, so for him to have clear identifiers of both lineages. But you watch as he stands up and kind of makes his way towards the center of the room, gives a light bow to everyone's table. Well, Kawia may have her legion and the Salubribi, and they may be devoted to the ways of the warrior. They are not enough to stop the Ashira. Under my rule, if we can get the other city-states to band together, we will stand a chance. And while Kawia would make a few of those easier to unite, she would also be someone who would easily come into conflict with other city-states here within the Levant. Both the Devil of Armenia and also... Sorry, I gotta get this name. What's your moniker? And also getting the Wise Consul to join her. Nigh impossible. There would be a fight. Whereas I could bring it to a more diplomatic solution. For those of you who don't know me, and he looks over at your table. And I need to get his full name in front of me so I don't say it incorrectly. There you are. I am Duke Lucius Trebius Rufus, Honor Incarnate of Palestine. Kind of nods and goes back to the table and sits down. Magdalene kind of speaks up a little bit. Are those the only two representatives that were able to make it today? I see. Very well. So then it's a choice of two. Lucius or the Lioness. Very well. We'll take a recess. 10 minutes. When we come back, we will vote.
Can I ask one question before the recess start?
You watch as she's in the midway of standing. Yes.
Lucius, how do you plan to win over the Jewish faction?
And you make me a charisma. Let's see here.
Ballsy, Cecilia.
Charisma expression.
Yeah,
take a
taking a
+1
chance
to
now.
this.
I will actually willpower this because this is her first political move she makes.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to. She wants to. Yeah. What do you say? Charisma.
Charisma expression with a +1 modifier.
Yeah. Expression. +1 modifier and go.
Wow.
So 4 successes then with her willpower.
Fantastic. The room kind of pauses as people were in the middle of standing up and people were ready to go in their recess, and they were tired of the awkwardness and the silence, even though you've only been here for a short time. And you watch as Alexis's eyes make their way over to your table, and there is a small smile that crawls across Alexis's face, and it is the creepiest fucking smile you have ever seen. And Alexis actually takes his seat again, and speaks up behind you. Yes, I would be quite interested to hear how you would seek my people's support. And you watch as Lucius kind of looks back from Alexis to you. Well, it is to my understanding, and he points his hand, not in a pointing manner, but in like a reaching out manner towards Alexis, that the Jewish people would see that they are both essentially left alone and also allowed to follow their religious practices without any further prosecution in the future from the Christian sects. So I would guarantee that with a blood oath. And you immediately hear Ezekiel kind of chime up. Is that it? Blood oath. Yeah, great. All right, so they get a small promise from you, Lucius, and a little bit of a, hey, we won't slaughter you the next time we roll into Jerusalem when the Muslims take it back. Sure, that'll really quell the masses. And Alexis kind of looks over and nods his head, and he looks over to Ezekiel and he says, well, how would your sire guarantee the Jewish people? And Ezekiel kind of looks over to Lucius and nods his hand. Well, we certainly wouldn't just make a promise. I have it on good authority that should the Jewish people be willing to join the Christian faction, we will be giving you land, first and foremost. We will be giving up the lower titles of Palestine over to prominent members of your community. Should you wish a blood oath, although I see little use for it, you may have so with myself and other prominent members within the Lionesses faction for guarantees. And we will also go ahead and allow the tithe to be broken for the next 10 years, where you will not have to pay the blood tax.
I'm looking at Cecilia like...
And the room just goes quiet for a while.
Yeah, true look at Cecilia like, what the fuck? Where did that come from?
Cecilia tries to hold her posture and just look out to the room, even if she gets ugly faces from her friends.
like,
And she will not speak again, because she will not tempt fate twice. But she will like just do a slight nod when she heard the answers, and then just look around at different people.
You hear from Lucius. Yes, well, I'm sure that through some discussion we could also agree to put a stop to the blood tax on the people of the Jewish community. And also, I suppose that should you go ahead and elect me and allow me to continue diplomatic negotiations with the Jewish people, I'd be willing to go ahead and release the restrictions on the Jewish community of Carrick so that they may once again sire. And you hear Ezekiel kind of scoff in the background. And Alexis just kind of looks at the two of them, kind of nods. Magdalena, about that recess. And finally she goes, yes, recess. 10 minutes. Perhaps there will be more discussion before a proper vote is taken. And she finally finishes standing up, and she heads out of the room through that back doorway. And, there are light conversations here and there at the other tables.
Then I'll look over to my friends. Yeah, okay, look over to him, to Ayala first.
I know you're really in your element here, all this politics and stuff, and great move, I guess. But is it rude? Because they brought in refreshment and a sort of point-ish in the direction of the women that they brought in. There weren't any men brought in, right? Is it rude to ask if they have any men?
I say so. Just take what you get.
I don't know. I don't know Magdalena enough. It's basically if she's gonna think it's rude or not.
Also, when they say drink to your leisure as in as much as you want, what would be overdoing it?
Well, start with this and see if you get offered more. You probably should not go ask for more. Maybe they mean it like you can drink how much you want, or maybe it's more like the thing you say.
Yeah.
You see, has other people started drinking their drinks yet?
You've seen a few here and there that do partake in the drinks.
Yeah.
And you watch as Alexis kind of picks up his cup and swirls it around a little bit before going ahead and shotgunning it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'll start drinking as well.
Yeah, I'll have a drink.
Yeah, I'm also gonna start drinking. I'm not entirely comfortable with the idea of drinking from women, I guess, but since it's... I'm wondering, because I don't really have the floor for it anymore.
Don't worry, you'll be
Maybe-
drinking from a potter soon.
Yeah.
Might just be what you like. You maybe not like it, so you don't.
I
If you
don't
don't,
like
if you're
it.
not starving, maybe you leave it.
It's sustaining, so I will...
You watch as there's a small black dog nose that kind of makes its way up the table and pushes the cup slightly to you.
Is she aware of the... Oh, Canis was listening, probably.
Canis
She's
always
a dog.
listens.
She hears
Yeah.
everything.
She hears everything. I'll say thank you, Canis. It's indeed best for me if I actually drink.
How much do we get
I'll
from this
start
glass?
It's just 1 dot's worth at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and fill up slowly, but it's gonna be a while.
And you watch as, like, after Canis has finished pushing your mug, she kind of makes her way over to Persephone, who's, like, nodding her head but hasn't said anything. And you watch as Canis, like, starts pawing at her satchel. And Persephone kind of looks down briefly and then takes a rabbit out of her satchel and slowly holds it underneath the table.
Canis is going to tear that rabbit apart.
She wants a snack.
And eventually you
it's
hear the
black.
sound of a chair being moved back from a table as Alexis stands up and straightens out his cloak and makes his way over to your table and sits down.
Good evening.
Good evening. Ajala. Serafino. It's a
Nice
pleasure.
to see you.
That was a very good move. Your first major political one. Some might say stupid, but in this case, I will not call you such. It was a valid
Sometimes you have to be
question.
brave. Yeah, I had to start somewhere, and it seemed like a good enough opportunity.
Hmm.
And she drinks the last of her cup.
A ballsy start. indeed.
So what's your thoughts about the candidates?
If they're serious about removing the blood tax, it will be an even split.
Do you think both would uphold it?
No.
Do you think that neither of them will?
Exactly. For a time. Always to keep up appearances, but... appearances only stay valid for so long before people forget.
Hmm.
Then there is no need.
So which solution do you think has greater success then? The diplomatic one, or to show the strength of the lioness?
That is why I wanted to come to your table and hear your opinions. You may be the newest to the area, but some say a fresh pair of eyes. Perhaps while we have this break available to us, if there's any information you need to know about the situation that you are voting upon, ask. I will provide such, and then I would like to hear your opinion.
I would only ask one thing. Which one of these candidates is known most for being a bullshitter and a liar?
Neither.
Okay. Good to know.
Kauai is devoted to her faith, devoted to her followers, and has kept her promise.
I'm not sure if I know.
Lucius
Well,
is a
I can-
Roman. You know how Roman promises go, though.
Of course. Well, how strong is her fighting force, the lioness? Do you think she will stand up to the Muslim?
I would flick my Roman denarii in front of her. Just taunt her a bit.
In front of Cecilia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Celia doesn't understand why you do it, so she doesn't. She looks over a little, but she doesn't say anything, and continues looking towards Alexis after that.
No, not in front of Cecilia. Sorry, in front of the
Alexis?
other one. Alexis. Yes.
He's
Apparently.
a man.
The,
Alright.
He kind of looks down at it.
probably.
I have not seen a Denari in some time.
True.
You prove a point. Romans do have a reputation militarily. But we aren't talking about the legions. Scipio and his men are not here.
Very well.
The Roman does seem to prefer the diplomatic approach, whereas our lioness seems to be,
Direct.
from what I understand, more eager to spill blood.
She is, many would say, Hakim's equal in such matters.
Fight fire with fire.
In this case, it would be holy fire with holy fire. A proper jihad.
Which is bad for any Cainite.
I just wanted to the DM. Were it stated that the lioness was a Christian, or she has her own religion because of Salubri?
She... You know, that is a good question. I am not fully versed on the Salubri, but she is of the warrior caste of the Salubri, and they have their own tenets of religion, and I don't know what that falls under. I believe she is... Her religion is Samalite.
Yeah. I guess Cecilia would ask then, do you know how much her own religious values align with the Christian ones at the moment? She asked Alexis.
While they are themselves a mix of Kurds from different groups, they seem to have taken to siding with Christian factions due to the cruelty they were dealt by the Turks and Egyptians. to her religious value, I am not sure.
Well, my opinions then. I would have preferred a diplomatic resort, so we don't have to fill the streets with blood. But I think that there is a weakness for a diplomatic person to not prepare a better answer for my question. The question was loaded to see how much Lucius had prepared for it. He felt unprepared.
Lucius is old, but Winnie does not have and he kind of looks up and towards the ceiling for a moment. When he does not have the proper weight behind his fists, he does not strike with his full intent. When we look at the situation that we are in, I understand his hesitation. He no longer has the governors to pull the strings of. He no longer has Roman influence within the region. Outside of a few connections here and there with the church, he doesn't have a strong backing militarily like the Lioness to start with. He will rely more heavily on alliances that he can form with the other cities of the Levant. Kawia has a standing army, as she fought for Nagrava. I think it's called Nagrava. Let me double check it. The region's called... Sorry, Negev. And Karak. And she fought hard for those regions. And now, where most Salubri no longer reside within the Levant, the regions that are protected by her legion have the highest population of Salubri. Each of them dedicated to the path of the warrior. Each of them very formidable, sorry.
It then sounds like Lucius is had been a good person if he was under different circumstances, but he doesn't seem to have the proper support at the moment, if you put it like that.
Initially, you are correct. At the end of the day, if Lucius is to gain power, while he will be weaker in the initial stages of bringing the Levant together, even with an error here or there, with his connections and with time, he will rival the power that she will be able to pull through early on.
Do you think Hakim would act fast or play a longer game?
If Hakim were still alive, blood would be spilled in the streets this very moment. But ever since he was bitten by a Malkavian, he has begun to play the slower game.
Okay.
What does the Malkavian bite do?
I think he meant if he was still alive before in death, and
Correct.
the Malkavian bite is basically...
Oh, as in a metaphor for being a vampire.
Because I was a bit I was a
Yeah,
bit
it was like
confused by that as well. If he was still alive, I think we saw him quite recently, but
Yes.
yeah,
He means alive in the mortal sense.
yeah, not too long ago. Yeah. The Malkavian was probably his embrace, but now at least we also know he's one of the Mad Hatters, basically.
Long enough to give Lucius time to build his connections.
Possibly.
It seems
is
like a
a
hard
bit-
choice then.
That is why I believe your faction, no disrespect, is having this debate. I am simply here as an observer for the time being. My vote does not count. Yours does. I will leave you the last 3 minutes and 45 seconds to deliberate amongst yourselves. And he stands, and he goes back to his table.
And she nods to him and says, "Thank you for your time." And she turns around towards her friends. And Persephone?
Bye, Alexi.
Persephone is not at the table. You don't know when
She
she
left.
left.
Okay.
Yeah. And you look around, she's like on the other side of the room at the table closest to the long table. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go for a refill if I can. I probably would have called during that whole conversation. I'm thinking.
Absolutely, yeah. If you call out, you notice that the individual in the heavy armor kind of takes note. He raises a hand to you and gives you like a motion of a minute, and he heads through that door. And not too long after, you're brought your stein is refilled.
If Cecilia saw that, she would also put up a finger in that case.
Another point of blood restored.
Yeah, so same.
The new blood, so yes. Yeah, we take another one. It was free.
Yeah. We're taking what we can get. Not saying that out loud, but I will bend over that stein eventually and be like, I'm gonna trust your judgment in this because I have, honestly, I'm not great at this whole thing. The only thing that I can say is if we can get a diplomatic solution, as much as I like a good fight, it would be better. As in, people get hurt in wars.
Yeah,
can
it just seemed like Lucius wasn't ready for the question. He offered like nothing except a word, but not really anything, and he only offered anything after the other one answered that they would give more.
And he offered the exact same thing.
If
Yeah.
that man's dice roll, if that man's luck is just as good as ours, then the diplomatic thing will not gonna work. It's not gonna work out anyway, and chances are they will be fighting in the street no matter what.
I was just
I
trying.
prefer to see a diplomatic solution and no people get hurt. As in, I'm afraid that might be unavoidable anyway.
Well, I think fighting will happen anyway. The question is, will it happen late enough so Lucius can gather support for other people that can help in the fight? Will Salubri, well, of course she would benefit from allies, but maybe others can gather the allies for her. But she will have the army right away and start the fight earlier. If she can force the fight to start earlier, it might be good also. If Hakim is not ready.
From what I understand, she's the safer option of the two.
Yeah, I wanted to taunt Alexis to see if he was biased. But even after seeing the Denari, he still came clean with his explanation and he didn't even lose his train of thought.
I think it's hard to unface Alexis.
Even so, we might have looked at it and think, oh, they are supporting Lucius and give up.
The way he spoke, he's the same guy that had my fingers burned off at the gate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured it was him.
He's talking a little faster than he was when you first met him, but yeah.
He's not focused on the gate right now. I'm guessing that has to do with it.
I'm just surprised he took the time to actually speak to us and explain the situation. I just wanted to know if his vote was inclined to have some sort of benefit for himself or not. Because if it did, he would probably try to sell it more, and I don't know.
I'll give it. I'll give you guys a freebie on this one. He can't vote. He's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's not Christian. He can't vote here.
I understood that. He can't
Yeah,
vote.
he said as much. His vote doesn't. He has no vote.
He said his vote doesn't count, but it's probably because he's the sheriff, so he can't vote.
No, because he's Jewish.
He's not. part
Oh,
of
so
the,
Jewish?
He's one of the Jewish.
It's only Christian votes here.
It's only Christian and Muslim. No?
We basically vote how we want to handle the possible Muslim threat within our faction, but we have invited others among the Jewish people, probably.
See, that's the thing, though. So they must be doing these meetings by themselves as well.
The Muslims
To
are probably
vote.
doing an equal,
To
but they
vote.
maybe don't vote. They may be informed about Hakim's strategic move and what to expect.
Yeah.
And the Jewish community probably also has meetings going on amongst themselves about everything going on, but whatever they discuss there, yeah, that's what they want to discuss. I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what Hakon did here. Maybe he came to say something to the Jewish faction. Or something like that.
You think that's probably the casing as he was leaving Alexis's table when you first came down.
Yeah. So
When this all started, right? Right before it started.
Mhm.
Yeah. They probably don't want him here while we're talking about it.
of course not. I guess his only
yes.
deal was with the Jewish faction. Maybe to say something to them, maybe offer them something, maybe invite them to another meeting later. The only issue when you see the sheriff of Muslims exactly when we have a meeting here is that there might be more Muslims coming. So I would be holding close to the weapons in case something happens. We are in a very bad
Okay.
position for an ambush. But hopefully it's not that short of game that's being held.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a bit weird. I mean, at first I was inclined to vote for Lucius, but now I don't know.
I wanted to vote for Lucius. I wanted his answer to be good. I was just disappointed.
Same. And then after Alexis speaking, and I'm inclined more to the Linus rather than Lucius.
I'm
Is it-
afraid that Lucius will be too slow.
I will say like this. I will lean now towards the lioness. But if there becomes more discussions and I be swayed, I will show you three that I will hold my left hand on the table instead and hold my right hand on top of it. If that happens, that means I've switched my vote.
I'm
Okay.
going to follow you because I trust you in this matter way more than I trust myself.
If I don't share your opinion, I shall do the same sign next to you.
Alright.
There's the sound of
Then-
creaking wood. Oh, go ahead.
No, then we have a plan.
This is the
And
sound of
she drinks
creaking
the
wood
second-
as the door opens in the back of the room. And you watch as Magdalena Boniface and the individual in the habit that you don't recognize come back and sit in their appropriate chairs. And in case I got the order wrong, or in case you didn't hear the order the first time, the individual in the habit is in the smallest chair. Boniface is in the second largest chair, and then Magdalena is in the largest chair behind the table. They sit down. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed your refreshments and had your discussions. Is there any more discussion that is to happen before we make the official vote?
Just to clarify outside again, Magdalena went out alone from the room and seemingly haven't spoken to anyone.
Magdalena, Boniface, and this other individual all left the room
okay.
entirely. And
okay, so
Jay, your camera is down with OBS symbol and no camera symbol. And now you're red.
Whoa.
Ah, there we go.
Fixed it.
Alright. Well, she looks expectantly around, hoping for someone to speak, but she will not speak again.
Yeah.
Yet.
You watch as Lucius stands and he makes his way back to the center of the room. Some of you may not have been satisfied with my answer that I initially gave. He looks to Alexis and gives a nod. However, thanks to the discussions with Elsh, and he points his hand towards the harpy, I have it under good authority that while I will not have the same military backing that the Lioness has initially, the Count of Cyprus has decided to throw his lot in with me, and will give all of his available forces to my side. If that does not equate to the 1,553 men that the Lioness may have at the time, but it is still a sizable force of over 800. It's something other than nothing, should violence break out before all of the treaties can be secured. Kind of nods and moves back over to the table and sits.
Sida thinks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is nice to hear, but it's also a bit weird.
You have no clue.
I tried to look over towards Boniface, Magdalena, and the company there
Sure.
to see how they reacted to these news.
Give me a... is there a wits empathy? Hold on, I gotta bring up a character sheet.
There is empathy and there is wit.
So, wits empathy it is.
Help from Auspex or not?
Help from aspects, particularly in sight, yeah.
Alright. Ooh, 2 successes.
Okay. And then I think, Serafino, you wanted to make a roll, right?
Yeah.
Jarlas is looking around with his sting. Fine.
Can you tell me again? What was it?
Wits, what did I say? Wits empathy? Yeah.
Wits empathy. Yeah, okay. Mm. Boom.
Okay. From what you can tell, they are doing their best to remain visually and mentally neutral.
They're no help to you guys.
Not
Not
at
with
all.
twos. Not with twos.
Does it look like someone else is stepping up or looking at to move?
No.
It's just this awkward silence.
And there's just an awkward silence that is sitting over the room.
Oh, gosh.
Well, if that is the case, then may the votes begin. And you watch as the same individual who brought out your steins goes behind Magdalena and goes through the door and quickly gathers up some wooden boxes, small wooden boxes about that big, and brings them out to each table, and except for the one that Alexis is sitting at. And he also brings out pieces of parchment for each of you, and a quill and ink pot for each table.
Probably a bit late to ask, but any idea?
Your
You
voice cut
disappeared.
out. You said any idea, and then your voice just suddenly went.
Do we have any idea as to what numbers we would be facing if this all goes to literal hell, so to speak? No, I say that too much, so to speak.
Are you asking that out loud, or are you asking that to the table?
Yeah, I'm asking it around the table, basically.
I don't know.
No
family
idea.
numbers. She whispers back.
Yeah, I should have asked that earlier. Already done enough political blunders for one lifetime, so let's not.
You're gonna have more, surely.
Yeah, most likely. I'm just trying to get as much time in between them as possible.
All right.
Well, I am
Also,
torn.
Do we all have a
Went
quilt?
for a refill, sorry.
Sorry, what was that?
All together, as in, would it be rude if I went for a refill? I'm sort of out again.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
no, go right ahead.
Okay. 1 second, and I'll
Yep.
go for anyone else.
No,
So,
Cecilia. Not.
A refill, and I'll sit down again.
I'm good.
I am. She will whisper to the table. I am torn. Now he has an initial force, just not as strong.
voting may begin.
All right. Do we each have our own quilt?
You each have your own piece of parchment. There's 1 quill and 1 ink pot per table, and there's a small box with a hole in it.
All
When
right.
the voting starts, I did see Cecilia and Serafina look at the faces of Boniface and Magdalena. I'm not entirely sure what they were up to, but I do expect that they sort of want to know what they are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Magdalena left the room. Is Boniface still inside the
Oh,
room?
no.
or did he leave
Magdalena is
before?
still there. The person who left the room was the person who went and gave you all your drinks, and he just
Okay.
left the room to get the materials, and then he came back in.
Okay, I'm right. Sorry, that
Yeah.
was the one that brought us to the tables. Yeah, if they're inside, they're probably also voting right now. Are they writing currently?
Magdalena, Boniface, and the other individual are writing and putting their votes into the box, and the other tables are also. The only table that isn't voting is the table with Alexis and 2 others.
So, I am. While they are writing, as in, I know this is going to be ridiculously difficult to see all the way from over here, but I am going to try and use my Auspex for sight. And I
Okay.
am going to try if I can make out anything of what they are scribbling. Not necessarily on the paper, but if I have any idea what name they might be writing.
On whose table?
Magdalena. Oh,
Boniface.
Okay.
Magdalena.
All right,
tables
so in that
Magdalena
case,
and Boniface. But I'll
go
go for
ahead
Magdalena.
and make me a
I'm gonna
perception alertness. You go ahead and add the 1 success from willpower. Difficulty 8.
Perception, alertness, difficulty 8. That makes
Wow!
5 successes.
Wow! Okay, all right.
5.
Well, with 5 successes,
You know everything. You even know their underwear size.
Oh no.
well, Magdalena's a waist size 0. Magdalena and Boniface both appear to write down Lioness, and the other individual who you don't recognize appears to write down Lucius.
I'll lean over on the table and I'll say, Boniface and Magdalena both seem in favor of the lioness. They're writing down lioness.
How the fuck do you see that?
Because I have eyes in my head. The other guy is writing down Lucius.
But they both started with an L. Okay, if you say so. She says, and she like holds over her hand over her face for a moment.
I'm sorry for peeking, okay? I was curious, as in you seemed to be interested in what they were thinking. Just trying to
Of
help.
course I am. It's good. You did good.
So I'm guessing no hands on the table then.
No, she does not place her hand, but she starts writing on a note. But she seems reluctant, like she doesn't like what she's writing.
We all need to wait for you to write because we only have 1 quill.
Oh, we only have 1 quill?
Yeah, we have
Correct.
one question.
Oh, okay, sorry. She writes it down and then she lands down the quill to her right.
Alright.
And takes the note and places it in the box.
All right.
And she does not do design.
Quill. And write down.
Did I see
Move it on to Inshallah.
what Cecilia was writing?
Make me another
Is it also
perception alertness. Same modifier. This time difficulty 7 because you're closer.
same
Yup.
result?
Yup.
Also, I know your waist size now.
Yeah, exactly.
I wrote
You know,
lioness on my.
Yeah,
I actually wrote the whole name, so I did it to be a little more formal.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Cecilia's example basically because I trust in her judgment.
All right.
Well, Cecilia is making decisions on things she doesn't really know anything about. She has hearsay as her best thing.
Does Serafino also vote lioness because he would have been able to see your paper as well?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't put my hands on the table, or else I'd have voted Lucius.
Very well.
But it seems that the man in the habit voted for Lucius, so I'm thinking he has some sort of interest within other people, like the blood mages or some shit. I sense that.
You notice that Persephone writes down both of their names and then puts the paper on the floor and takes a bit of the ink and passes it down to Canis, and Canis like dips a claw into it and then puts a mark next to Lioness.
Oh.
Well,
I mean, Canis has voting rights.
What's going on? I still think it would be so much easier if Canis would just turn into a bloody human and vote with her hands, but
for 2 minutes, but she doesn't.
No,
Yeah.
she doesn't. It's not her
She's
preferred
dedicated.
style. Yeah. Would you like to roll to see if you can see Persephone's vote?
since you can see everything, might as well check everything.
I'm not gonna risk that. As in, I've been tempting fate quite a bit with this, so
Very
Go
well.
for it.
could easily be a botch, and that I'm not feeling that.
Persephone makes a makes a vote, and it starts with L, as you very well know, and she puts it in the box. A few minutes go by,
But yeah,
and eventually the voting ends as they go around and collect all the boxes, and they get everything cleared off your tables. And they open up all the boxes and put them into one large container on the table that Magdalena is on. And you watch as the three of them start going through the votes and putting them into two separate piles. And very shortly afterwards, Magdalena stands. By 2 votes, the lioness wins.
close call.
Let's close.
2 votes. Interesting.
That concludes today's meeting. An inauguration will be held. Boniface stands. An inauguration will be held within the city walls of Jerusalem in 4 weeks' time. Meeting adjourned. And they all begin to stand and leave.
Yeah, same as you see it essentially.
2 votes. If something goes wrong, they're all gonna
What?
be looking at us.
What's the feeling in the room?
Oh,
Is
it's
it the
tense.
feel? Yeah, like a divided
Oh,
whole.
absolutely
This is not...
divided. Yeah. People are looking at each other with the evil eye. There's, especially since it was not an open voting forum, and people didn't just go, those for Lucius say aye, those for Lioness say aye. Because it wasn't that, you could tell that there are people like eyeing each other, and there are quite a few curious faces around the room.
Does Persephone leave us immediately? Like,
Nope.
No,
She's
okay.
tapping her fingers on the table and kind of looking at you guys, and
Cecilia
Wow.
stands up and starts moving out. Also,
Before I stand up, I'll lean into Persephone and ask, rude if I got one other before we left? Or is that...
God, you sound like a drunk.
yes, definitely would be. Once it's adjourned, no more.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that then. Thanks for the
Yep.
tip.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start following Cecilia.
It's like a bloody blood junkie.
Spent 6 blood points.
He's a blood junkie.
Got
Look
3
at
back
that.
at least, so yeah, that's good.
Sounds like Oliver Twist. Please, can I have some more?
Well,
The hungry vampire.
as the 5 of you, if we include Canis, make your way up the stairs and head into the Gypsy's Tale proper. That is where we will end our session for today. And we will see you guys next time.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time on Children of the Cup, as the voting is done. And the Diet of Olives has officially become a thing in this version, this universe. All right. Wow.
We're going with the lioness.
I just say if one of us had voted Lucius and the other 2 Lioness, it would have been a draw.
Yeah.
Then the tension would have been.
Yeah, even worse.
All right. Adios.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.